Welcome back to Motorland, Aragon, near the town of Alcanis, the northeast region of Spain. My name's Luke Wilkins. Joining me from MotoGP.com is Harry Lloyd. It is round 3 of the 2016 FIM CEV Repsol. We have had incredible racing today. 4 of the tightest and best races you could possibly wish to see. And Harry, it's not over yet. We've still got race 2 in the Moto2 European Superbike Championship.
Exactly. We had a thrilling start to the Moto2 race just before, but then Stephen Odendaal, he did manage to break the pack and sprint away. And Stephen Odendaal, with his second career victory, did cement himself as the most successful South African in the CEV Championship. Both he and Brad Binder had each taken 1 victory, but with that win, Stephen Odendaal is now the most successful South African across all 3 classes.
It's good company to be keeping, isn't it?
Binder's victory obviously came in the Moto3 class. Binder didn't actually come through the SEV series, but he did do a wild card at the end of the 2012 season and took victory there.
So, Stephen Odendaal can, after taking his first victory at the second race in Valencia, can he make it 3 in a row? Back-to-back wins, 3 consecutive wins to say for the South African. It would definitely go a long way in helping him extend his lead at the top of the championship. And Odendaal, as we say, really showing a coming of age this year. In race 1, it was dramatic, but needless to say, he pulled off a brilliant, I suppose, breakaway towards the end to take the victory. But Remy Gardner crashed out of race 1. Can he bounce back? And also Eric Granado, he had some sort of problems. He retired to the pits after a couple of laps. Race 2 could be a very different complexion to it, Harry, couldn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And because of the retirement of Granado, Federico Fellini, he's not racing this weekend because he was injured in a crash during Q1. Alan Tesher remains as Stephen Odendaal's closest title rival. Odendaal with 70 points, and Tesher has 52 points, I believe, as he finished 3rd. So that's still quite a big gap, and Odendaal could easily open up an even healthier lead in the championship with another really strong race result. And based on his pace in the first race, I can't really see past the South African for victory.
The only man I can see really challenging, as you say, Nagashima, Tesher, also let's not forget Augusto Fernandez, who did brilliantly. Unless Eric Granado or Remy Gardner have their say in this and keep the bike upright, then it could be end up running away with it. Here is the incredible Aragon circuit. Over 5 kilometres in length, 7 left-hand corners, 9 right-hand corners, a reverse corkscrew through turns 8 and 9, which is called so obviously the corkscrew in Laguna Seca, but it runs the other way. It's a right then left, dropping over 50 metres in height, which is how many stories? Is that 5 stories? Or
I think so. Certainly the wall itself, the famous Aragon wall, that seemed to be about 6 stories.
Wow.
The corkscrews maybe not quite as severe as that, but it's at least 3 stories.
Well, what's brilliant as well is, as you see here, they come up around that final corner. It's over the crest, down to the straight. The whole circuit follows the contour of these Alcanis hills around here, and it is such a beautiful region of Spain. If you ever got a chance to visit, see if you get an off-road boat and just go riding around here. That's what I wanted to do when we were driving down here in a taxi-laden car, because it's just country for thousands of miles that you can see, and it's pretty impressive. Reminding me of like what you'd expect the Grand Canyons to look like, not that I've ever been there. Anyway, back to the racing. I digress about the beautiful Spanish countryside. Yeah, this should be one hell of a race. The final one of 5 today. A lot of great performances in race 1. Someone to watch out for in race 2, Samuele Cavalieri, who finished 5th in race 1 from 8th on the grid. The Italian doing really well. Also, Augusto Fernandez, Harry, was a bit of a surprise to us. The youngster, really impressing.
Yeah, huge amounts. You know, we saw in the very stock 600 series that he's raced in, that he's clearly quick, he's clearly good on the 600, but a Grand Prix motorcycle like these Moto2 machines are is a very different step. You know, the comparison always gets made that production racing is like racing in an armchair, whereas racing a Grand Prix motorcycle, be it MotoGP, Moto2 or even Moto3, it's like racing a table.
Well, exactly
very
that.
Stiff.
Yeah, and it's exactly that. One is a road bike designed for all intents and purposes for the road to be used every day. One is a specific, exactly as you said, GP prototype. There is Stephen with his fiancée Denise, a very happy man. And do you know what I've noticed with him? We're chatting to him at breakfast today, briefly, staying in the same hotel. Most of the CV riders do, not very glamorous. And he's just says he wants to stay focused this year. He feels like he's riding a crest of a wave of confidence, but he wants to keep that focus. He doesn't want to let up. So for him, look at those finishes, 2nd, 1st and 1st. It is the perfect start to the season when a lot of people would be looking at him to be the main challenger for the title. And, you know, it couldn't really have gone better, could it?
No, certainly no. His year's off to an almost ideal start. He may not have set the fastest lap in the first race, but he got pole position and he took a win and is now looking for a 2nd victory. Obviously, the grid doesn't change in terms of positions between races like it does in some other domestic series. Everything is set in stone here, but yes, a double victory would be a perfect weekend. It would be his first ever double. Obviously, at various rounds in the CEV, sometimes we have one race and sometimes we have two, just depending on scheduling. Here is one where there are 2 races, and we will also have 2 races at a couple of other rounds later this year, such as Barcelona, which is in 2 weeks, and in Portimao, which is towards the end of the season. Here is one who's definitely one to watch. Remy Gardner starting second. He was leading the race. He was setting an absolutely incredible pace in the first couple laps. Even Stephen Odendahl said he was surprised. But as you can see from that first Valencia and from that first Aragon, he does crash a bit. He crashed out of both those races. Then at the second Valencia one, he was quite comfortably in the podium. But then engine
problems. Yeah, and do you know what? I think the problem for Gardner is he's been in the lead in every race I've seen him in so far in this CV Moto2 European Championship, and he's shown the pace. He definitely deserves to be there, if anything, and there's no respect to the other ones. He's shown he's quicker, but he needs to find that limit, because he keeps going quicker, and okay, no fault of his own, his engine blowing up, but twice we've seen him crash out where he's just been pushing too hard, losing the front as well in that last race. Disaster. He was a second lead already, but here we go, completing the front row. Tetsuka Nagashima, the Japanese rider, he's got 1 podium to his name already from, funnily enough, race 1 today when he finished in second. He was just over 2.3 seconds behind Odendahl in the end, who timed his breakaway perfectly. But Nagashima, a man who will fancy himself to be up there battling for the race win with Odendahl, and obviously Tesha as well, as you mentioned, and Gardner. It's so important, I think, for Gardner to finish in the top 6 here, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. You know, to finish first you must finish, as they say, and that's unfortunately what Remy Gardner's suffering from a lot. He does have his dad there, obviously a world champion in the 500cc class. Wayne Gardner knows a thing or two about a crash. He's had some big ones. And I'm sure that he'll have sat Remy down, you know, over lunch and just said, look, you just need to focus, just make sure you stay upright, get some points. You know, I think even if Remy eased off a bit, he could probably still be in contention for the podium, but certainly a top 5 finish would be a great result from him, and he needs to be careful not to lose his confidence.
Well, that's got to be the frustration for Gardner. I mean, in that last race, just looking at the timings through, he could have been the second lap slower and still finished in the top 4 or 5. You know, the 5th place person and across the line, Sagnoli Cavalieri, was almost 18 seconds behind the race winner. So, you know what I mean? He could give up a second lap and still score points, but that's just not in his blood, is he? He is a racer out and out, and it's so easy in hindsight to sit here and say, well, if I'd have gone a little bit slower, I wouldn't have crashed.
Exactly, and there we just saw Alan Tesha, who was doing very well and fighting for second in that first race, but then made quite a big mistake in the closing corners. Dropped back and then made an incredible comeback in the final 2 laps. Here is very much the man of the moment, Augusto Fernandez. The young Spaniard finished 4th. Absolutely incredible result from him. He has been racing, as we said, in various stock 600 classes, done a lot of winning there, and is now right up the sharp and pointy end of this Moto2 European Championship.
Yeah, and he says that he raced at Valencia. I really don't believe he did. Maybe I've got my facts right, but I'm pretty sure he wasn't there. That was Eramin, wasn't it? Anton Eramin, who runs under the same number, which is why the confusion is there. He's 37 normally, and he was 24th. In fact, exactly that in Valencia race 2. So that's exactly what's happened. I've got to the bottom of it. Just call me Inspector Wilkins. Eric Granado then completes the second row, the Brazilian who won the first race in Valencia at a canter, then was leading the race 2 by over 2 seconds and crashed out. So another one like Gardner needs to really refocus. Had to pull into the pits and retire in race 1.
Not sure what the issue was. Obviously, we are here in the commentary position for most of the day.
In the shed, I've called it.
So
it's okay.
It's quite difficult to get some information, but it does look like it was some sort of technical issue for him, so hopefully that has been resolved for this second race, because as he showed in Valencia, he does have the speed to really push Odendahl to the limit. Here's
another man I was very impressed with in race 1, Senna Yamada. He's making massive stride now to move on to the 600. Probably right, he was too big for almost the Moto3 bike last year. Now, finished 10th in race 3, as you see there in race 1 at Aragon, the 3rd race of the season, but was right up there in the mix in the top 6 in a big moment, and I believe it was actually Samuele Cavalieri or Randam Rossi, one of the others, elbowed him onto the grass coming down the straight. He was lucky to stay upright, so expect a good race from him in race 2. He's got a lot to prove, and he had the pace in race 1, and I'm starting to really be impressed by Yamada. You know, we saw him progress last year. Now he's starting to really make that step up.
Yeah, he is getting there step by step. He set some of the fastest laps midway through the race. As we said, had to come back from that elbow.
I couldn't get over it. It was a huge. It was, I believe it was Ramdan Rossi, wasn't it? Sorry, I'm getting it right. Yeah, and it wasn't his fault. He didn't see him there, but he pulled halfway across the straight and hit a bike. There is Samuele Cavalieri, the young 18-year-old Italian, who has also impressed us, and he's starting from the middle of the 3rd row in 8th. Now, Cavalieri, as we mentioned, crossing the line in 5th in the first race, doing superbly. He's come up through the CIV, the Italian ranks. He's racing on that Team Stylo bike, which is kind of teammates to Ram Dan Rosli, the Petronas thing. They have the same colours, even if they're slightly named different. And a 5th in Valencia, 14th in race 2, and then a 5th here in race 1. He's really doing brilliant in his debut season.
Yeah, really good, and it's great to see so many young riders come through, and it's not just the likes of Odendal and Alan Tesher who have been in the series for a couple of years. We are getting that nice mix. Here's the other man we were talking about a fair bit, Ram Dan Rosli. He had a pretty good race at the start. He was up there battling in for about 5th and 6th, but then did eventually drop back to finish in 13th, but still not a bad result for the Malaysian rider. He will be straight off to work after this to run in the World Championship as a wildcard in Barcelona, which will hopefully set him up for a good result in Barcelona at the Sev round the following week.
Yeah, he wildcarded at Barcelona last year, one of 2 he did, and finished in 26th in the World Championship. So no slouch, and then wildcard in Sepang as well was in 24th. So as you say, 3 race weekends in a row for him. This one, he's going to do the Moto2 World Championship, then steps to the Moto2 European Championship at Barcelona again.
Yep, and here's Ako Luquano, who, again, another young rider.
Really impressed. Really impressed in the first race.
Really impressed, up in 7th place, and was fighting with the likes of Dimas Eki and Samuel Cavalieri for that top 5. Can't get over how many young up-and-coming riders there are.
16 years of age he is, young Spaniard. Spanish Supermoto champion last year, racing the CEV in this championship. At Valencia, the final round, a DNF in 11th place to his name, but very impressed by Ako Luquano, and as you said, and a lot of people in the paddock talking very highly of this young 16-year-old Spaniard. I mean, to get on one of these bikes when you're 16 and impressed like that, with a world-class field as we have, is pretty good. And this is number 20, Dimas Eki, the Indonesian rider. Again, brilliant race from him in race 1, finishing in 6th, improving from the 15th in race 2 in Valencia and the DNF he had from race 1. Progress for the Malaysian rider, 23 now, not quite the young whippersnapper he used to be, but he's definitely showing that progress, isn't he?
Yeah, he's definitely getting there, and, you know, getting closer and closer to the front. And we saw that Nagashima, he took a couple of races to get up to speed as well last year, but once he really hit his stride, he was up there and fighting for podiums, and that's exactly what all of these riders want to do.
And he's from Depok in Indonesia. I hope I pronounced that right as well, Dimas Eki there. And we do have, as you mentioned, big contingent in this championship from Asia, and we're seeing some of the best Japanese, Indonesian, Malaysian talent come through, and it is great to see them testing themselves on the European circuits on these Grand Prix bikes.
Yeah, exactly. You know, Indonesia, they're very passionate about racing, but certainly their domestic series, that's focused more on racing scooters. So if they do want to race big bikes and not just underbone scooters, Europe is the place to be.
So am I right in that, Javier Pinsash didn't start race 1, hasn't started this race either, because he was supposed to be ahead of Eki on the grid, I believe.
No, looking from that picture, it does look like there's a bit of a gap, but because of the heat haze, it is a bit hard to tell. So we'll have to double check that one when the grid comes up for us.
Alex Bernardi missed the first race after crashing on the outlap, not the warm-up lap, the outlap from the pit lane. So
no, I can definitely see him on the grid. He has quite a distinctive green bike, so he will be making this race start at least.
So here we go then, final race of the day, 5th of 5 races we've had for you. Hopefully you've been entertained over the last 4 and a bit hours. Well, trust me, don't go anywhere, because this last race has probably got all the drama you could probably want in a bottle, because it was an incredible race 1. And I think for race 2 that have made the adjustments in the setup. And it's Odendal from Gardner and Nakashima on your front row. Tesha, Fernandez and Granada make up race 2.
Then Seni Yamada, the up-and-coming Japanese rider, ahead of Samuel Cavalieri and his semi-teammate Ram Dan Rosli. All riders to watch, all capable of challenging for that top 5.
Ako Luquano heads up row 4 ahead of Xavier Pinsach and Dimas Eki. Xavi Cardelas, the Andorran, heads up row 5. Jason Uribe and Gabriel Ruhu in 15th. And Thomas Gradding and Max Enderlein and Thomas Fick-Bartson are your 6th row.
And just look at that huge difference of nationalities there. Absolutely almost every nationality you can think of. Ivo Lopez starting in 19th place, ahead of Thibaut Bertin, Marcel Brenner, Jacobo Cretaro, along with Lopez there on the stock 600 bikes. David Sanchez, Pontus Derland, Lucas Chavolik, Anna Carrasco. She's now back in 26th.
Having served her 5th place, good penalty from race 1. Alex Bernardi, Romani Carbo, Romani, I can just about see that on the screen, Miles, it's terrible. Michael Aquino and Theobald Gorin completing the grid. I'm going to get that name right because I feel terrible when I get it wrong. Apologies. Diego Carbo Escriva de Romani from Madrid, the 18-year-old. There we go. It's an easy thing to say, so I don't know how I can mess that up.
It does look set to be a great race, and as I quickly mentioned, there is a subclass within this series. There is the stock 600 class, as I said. Ivo Lopez, the Portuguese rider, 19th on the grid. He is the leading bike ahead of Jacobo Cretaro. Cretaro is the championship leader still, I believe, although Ivo Lopez did take stock 600 victory in the first race. Those two were very close together on track, so that'll be an interesting one to keep an eye out on.
All right, here we go then. Last race of the day. As you can see, a number of riders on the grid. We have got a grid of 31, I believe, with the only one missing. Sorry, it should be 30 riders. So Fellini's pulled out, obviously, and also Bernardi, while he has retaken his place on the grid, Javier Pintat. By the looks of it, hasn't. We'll get the final confirmation. I don't think we did mention him earlier, so it doesn't look like he has.
No, it looks like everyone has been shuffled around a bit to make up for that hole on the grid. The start to this race will be really, really crucial. As we say, there are very high winds, as you can see from that flag, which could cause a bit of drama into the first corner.
Most definitely. So then, your front two rows, Stephen Odendahl on the AGR team bike, Remy Gardner, Race Experience, Tetsuka Nakashima, the RO Motorsport Academy, row 2, Alan Tesha, Augusto Fernandez, and Eric Granado, and don't count out row 3, Senna Yamada, Samuele Cavalieri, and Ramdan Rosley. That's your lineup for Moto2 European Superbike Race 2 here at MotorLand Aragon, when the man who's just about holding on to that flag walks away. The lights will come on, they'll be on for 1 to 3 seconds. When they go out, the race is go. Waiting for the lights, tension building, lights go on. And we're off in the Moto2 European Championship Race 2 at MotorLand Aragon. Great start from Stephen Odendahl.
Huge wheelie from Remy Gardner there. I'm not sure if that was intentional or not, but Gardner does slot into third, still with Alan Tesha moving up into second place behind Stephen Odendahl. They held them a long time at the lights. That was a really, really, really long time. There's Anna Krasko. She's made a really solid start as well and muscled her way past a couple of riders. Looks like she's ahead of about 6 riders now.
So Odendahl from Tesha, from Gardner, from Nagashima, and it looks like all the riders have made it through the first set of corners safely, which is brilliant news. It's starting now to get a little bit exciting because it looks like Tesha's made a move on Odendahl for the lead, and he has. He's made it stick, but Odendahl fighting back immediately up the inside. Further down the field, lots of riders exchanging paces and maybe a little bit of paint as well as they start to settle into a bit of a rhythm. And look at Remy Gardner. Maybe he's just thinking, I'll hang around here for the first few laps. Don't need to push, don't need to do anything too much.
And a much better start from Eric Granado, who's just there in 6th place on the cusp of the top 5. Hopefully no difficulties for him right there. Yeah, you just saw him actually making a move. That's brilliant stuff from Granado, as he has already made a move on Ike Lacona, who just gone up into 6th. So he's secured 6th, and as we filter around, you're right, Carrasco, good start from the back. She is currently in 25th. She's made up 1 position from where she started. And there we have right at the back, Michael Aquino, the American, coming over here to race and fulfill the dream that he and his unfortunately late brother had of racing in Europe together. Tommy Aquino, he also raced in this championship and did quite well, so hopefully Michael, once he's learnt the tracks, can emulate his brother. Wow, look at that group of 7 at the front, breaking away already, and Lekuono managing to hold on to the back of that group, but it is Tesha from Odendahl, from Gardner, Nagashima, Fernandez, Granado, and Lekuono with Rosley. Whoa, that's
huge accident.
That's a really big accident there. That will certainly be a red flag. Multiple riders involved in that accident. Not sure exactly what happened there. Clearly a fuel tank got hit there. That's why there is the fire. Red flags, as you can see, immediately out. This race will be restarted if conditions can be deemed safe for everyone out on track. Most riders seem to be up, but there are a couple of riders who were down. Of course, we're not going to speculate on what happened there or the condition on those riders until we do have more information. Yeah. We'll just wait and see what happens. If the race is restarted, it will be a reduced race distance, but obviously the most important thing now is making sure that the riders are all okay. There is, as we can see, one bike on fire there.
Because some marshals need to get out there with some fire extinguishers and maybe some mega.
So here, what happened here?
Granado.
No, I believe that was his teammate, Xavi Cardelis, and then his bike went in the middle, and then it looked like...
The fuel tank blew up. Another rider hit the fuel tank.
Came up then.
Oh, wow, and then the other guy jumped. Oh, that's terrible.
Yep, and then obviously with the smoke from that fuel tank, it was incredibly difficult for riders to take evasive action. So yeah, it looks like his fuel tank was separated in that crash, and then a rider on a...
Finally, the marshals have actually got out there. We need to get some medical masks and ambulance down on there because it looks like there's a couple of riders still down who haven't moved. So let's maybe talk about this. Here's 2 that have managed to get away.
Yep, and there is Carter loose. You can see his airbag has gone off. It was his fall which sort of started the chain of events. Obviously, no one intended for that to happen. Sometimes this just does happen in racing, you know, wrong place, wrong time.
I've genuinely never seen anything like that, where the fuel tank has come off the bike like that and been run over and then exploded. That was the poor guy who obviously hit the fuel tank. The person coming behind him had absolutely nothing they could do, and the person behind the person that hit the fuel tank just jumped through it. Yeah, we need to get some medical staff out there as soon as possible.
Marshall's doing their best to clear the track, while we do have doctors attending to the various riders. As we can see, a couple of riders up there and walking, so good that at least some people are up and okay.
Yeah.
And here we have a replay of the crash once
again. I want to see this again. So you're right, Xavi Cardenas loses it. Horrible moment, tank slapper, but it's his petrol tank.
His bike flips.
It's
and
the
then
petrol tank.
You just saw Arco. There it is, the seat unit, and then it just gets clipped by that number 71, I believe it is, the green bike, which then...
That's Pontus Durland.
Which then unfortunately causes a huge amount of smoke, which then stops any rider from being able to...
I can't get over that seat unit in the petrol tank. Look at poor Pontus Durland, he explodes. Then look, two of them hit the bike and go fly. Oh, that's terrible.
The only time I've ever seen an incident like that would be Guy Martin's quite infamous crash at the Isle of Man TT a fair few years ago. All of the riders are now coming around, and there are medical staff attending to the at least 2 downed riders. As I said, I'm not sure on the exact numbers right now.
Yeah, it's worrying, as you say, medical runners, but the medical staff are there at the side of the track. Marshall's clearing it off. I'm surprised obviously the bikes had to come around for the second lap, even with the red flag out. They've got to go past
they have to come back to pit lane. So unfortunate that all the riders did have to see the carnage there, and hopefully we can ensure that everyone is relatively okay after that very, very scary incident.
Yeah, we'll keep you updated, as I mentioned, on any news we hear of the riders. Just watching it again, as you see Cardenas lose it. Now watch, not Pontus Durland on the green bike.
The seat unit,
tank.
You'll see it just arc, there you go, flings off like a slingshot.
The green bike of Pontus Durland hit the seat, but the two that follow him have nowhere to go. They hit the bike, and this guy's about to come jumping through there. And
then there's debris flying through the air.
Somehow managed to avoid some of those riders on the floor.
It looks like it's Michael Aquino there on the left-hand side, who takes a pretty nasty fall in the grass. Looks like a bit hit his front wheel just as he tried to run on.
Interesting enough, that rider that experienced it looked like he did stand up, so maybe he did get up. I don't know, I'm not going to say anything, because as you can see, the ambulance and staff here, everyone rushing to the scene to look after these guys.
And these are the same marshals who do attend the MotoGP races and the World Superbike races here. They really are world-class marshals, you know. They're doing everything by the book, exactly how it's meant to be done. And, you know, not only are they doing it as quickly as they can, but more than anything, they're doing it as safely as they can to ensure that all the riders who are down are okay, and that if this race does go ahead, it can go ahead in conditions that are safe for racing.
Well, there we go. It's one of the riders walking away, luckily, looking pretty unhurt, to be fair, but a bit dazed and confused as to where he is. Let's hope that everyone is okay from that, because it was, I'm not going to lie, in the years I've seen in racing, probably one of the most horrific accidents I've seen. To see that the fuel tank come off the bike like that and be hit by someone else, that was, well, as you say, the riders coming through with the smoke as well. They had no idea. They've come around the corner at full throttle.
It's hard enough to avoid debris and motorcycles when you're going that fast, especially because it was on the straight. You know, it wasn't a huge way down the straight, but they were just starting to get on the gas. And yeah, as you said, that smoke just does make it almost impossible. You know, it very much does become a lucky dip of which way to go, and especially when there are multiple bikes involved. All those, you know, various parts of the bike and also riders on the ground, you know, very important to try and avoid that.
And a brilliant job by the marshals. So they've actually pretty much cleared the track already of all the bikes and debris, which is some job from an accident like that. Let's just hope those two riders that are being attended to, the medical staff, are okay. We still await to find out who they are. Everyone else, it does seem, walked away from that crash. I'm sure there'll be a few stiff bodies and stuff, but let's just hope, as say, the two that are getting medical attention, we'll bring you any news we can. And look, there are some rather second-hand bikes down there.
Yep, that one that looks more together, that looks like it's Michael Aquino's Arian, I believe.
That might be the one without the fuel tank in front. That could be
yes, that could be. That bike certainly doesn't have a fuel tank, and that could very much be a Calex. It looks like it is a standard chassis and not one of the steel trellis chassis we have here with a couple of bikes.
So as we say, Marshall's doing a brilliant job getting everything cleared up. It looks like the two riders have been loaded, getting loaded into the ambulances and being taken directly. Well, do they go to the medical centre and then to the hospital?
Yes, they'll go first to the medical centre, and then if need be, they will be transferred to hospital. There are, of course, helicopters on call should they need to be airlifted to hospital. Kenny Noyes, he had quite a bad accident here last year, and he was airlifted to hospital, and Kenny is now making an excellent recovery back at home. So hopefully these riders don't need to be airlifted to hospital, but if the need is there, then they can be airlifted away
That also, just seeing that again, Pontus Juland, who hit the fuel tank,
That was an
exploded.
incredible save.
That was the greatest save I've ever seen. His bike exploded underneath him, and he's literally jumped and landed and saved that. So
yeah, managed to just save it on the front wheel, then get it down and plant.
and he'd have known nothing about that. He'd have literally come round. Next thing you know, he's hit a fuel tank. The explosion made his bike jump about 4 foot in the air, and he's managed to keep hold of it. That's one of the greatest saves I've ever seen. So
yes, be sure to follow the @Sev Motorcycle Twitter account for any updates. We will, of course, bring you all the updates that we get given through the timing screens and through the various methods of communication we have. And of course, we're not going to speculate on anything.
Yep.
And yeah, be sure to follow all of the official sources for official news, as in difficult circumstances like that, it is very, very important not to speculate and to wait for official confirmed news.
one thing I will say, Harry, is this is where I'm going to test your expertise and knowledge of all the rules and things that you are so good at. Red flag procedure in a situation like this.
It's a quick restart procedure. They brought it in. The rules are to parody the World Championship. In Mugello, we saw some slight issues, shall we say, with the quick restart procedure. Hopefully those issues won't be here. It will be a reduced race, most likely 2/3 race distance. As we were so early in the race, I imagine that the grid will remain the same, obviously, with some riders missing. So we'll have to wait and see what the call is. Obviously, track condition, very important with all that fire that could have damaged the tarmac.
Yep.
And if the tarmac is damaged and does need repairing, that could very well be an end to racing today.
It could be.
Obviously, it would be unfortunate because it looked like it was going to be a great final race of the day, but it's important that not only the riders who were injured, but also the riders who would be going out there can remain safe.
Here we go then, just seeing as some of the aftermath of the incident. That's when he hit the fuel tank. Watch this guy, look, he hits the bike. Those two jump through the fire. Oh.
Yep, Anna Carrasco there was hard on the brakes
How
to try
Carrasco,
and avoid
look at her riding through the flames.
Yep.
That's incredible bravery from Carrasco, and how she avoided the rider and the debris.
Fortunately, these motorcycle suits that they do wear are made of
flame retardant.
Resistant. I wouldn't quite say a retardant. You definitely don't want to go fighting any fires in these, but hopefully Carrasco will be okay. You know, maybe a singed eyebrow or two, but hopefully
Can you
quickly
imagine coming around the
through.
corner onto the straight like that and just seeing a wall of fire? She did brilliantly to avoid. She's watched the two bikes in front of her literally hit a bike and jump through the flame, and she just had to carry on. She don't know when that's going to end. That's incredible. But it looks like the marshals, look at them actually, the track already, they're blowing any debris off. It doesn't look like any oil went down. If it's fuel, the good thing about that is it does burn off, obviously, and if it doesn't damage the tarmac, it won't stay there.
And then we have the SEV officials there in the, they look to be white shirts, or they may also be light blue, just checking that the track condition is okay and discussing what to do next. As you were saying, Luke, situations like this, quite uncommon in short circuit racing.
I've never seen anything like that before, as you say. Obviously, we've seen pile-ups, we've seen accidents, but I've never seen anything like that. And I can't get over how well the marshals and teams have actually
here we
done it.
have the official word from race direction. The race was red flagged due to a crash involving rider
Jacopo
Cretaro, so he was one of the leading stock 600 riders. And then, as we said, Michael Aquino, he was unfortunately another one involved in that. And Xavier Cardelos, who we believe was the
man who instigated it. By no fault of his own, got a huge tank slapper on.
No, yeah, exactly.
Bike tore itself to pieces. And the weird thing was the bike didn't end up on the track, just the fuel tank.
Which makes the entire situation that much more bizarre.
Yeah.
That the it was sort of the perfect storm in terms of things happening.
But it looks like the track team, well, it looks like the CEV people are back in the cars. They seem semi-happy with the inspection of the track. And look at those leaf blowers. They're so good for so many purposes. They're drying the track of any debris, any small bits of debris that when you're doing 250 kilometers an hour down the back straight.
Yeah, exactly. You know, if you have a shard of carbon fiber or something and that goes into a tire, that's going to be very, very bad. At best, you could probably hope for a slow puncture.
Well, yeah, you know, we've seen tyre pressures, we've seen slow punctures, but yeah, the good news is it does look like they are, as we mentioned, clearing the track. It does look like we might get some more racing underway here, but we'll get the official word from race direction. But
yeah, look at all the debris you can see just in the left-hand corner. All those just tiny, tiny bits of carbon fibre and, you know, maybe even engine and all that sort of stuff. So just blow them off the track, make sure it's nice and clean. Maybe not the most environmentally friendly of things, but as long as those riders who do look set to head back out on track later today are safe, that is the biggest thing. And it looks like they're now bringing out some brooms.
And they're heading back to their positions, aren't they, the fire marshals?
Yes, hopefully. And it looks like maybe they're carrying some
concrete dust.
Yeah, some concrete dust to help maybe absorb any fuel that got left over and wasn't burnt off. With so many bikes down, there could have been another patch of fuel somewhere as well. So, better just be 10,000% sure, safe, and secure.
Well, we said the race would be dramatic. Obviously, we weren't talking about incidents like that, but this we will get involved on whether the race will be restarted, and if it is, how long it will be. Get information very shortly as soon as we are given that. As we mentioned, if you just tuned in, big accident in this Moto2 European Superbike race involving Jacopo Quartaro, Michael Aquino, and Javi Cardenas. We're waiting for the latest news on the riders. Hopefully, we'll be able to let you know that they're okay. And as soon as we get any news on those riders, we're not going to speculate. We will give it to you straight away. But the debris has been cleared up. It happened, I believe, it was it the third or fourth lap? Second lap, I think, of the race. So
yes, I believe so.
It was either the first or second lap. So an incredible job for the marshals. Within 5-10 minutes, they've got all of that cleared up. And if you'd have seen the incident, then you'll know what a brilliant job they have done. Let's just hope everyone is okay. Fingers crossed, as I say, bring you any news as it comes in. And it'll be a rather depleted grid because there were more than 3 riders involved, I think. I saw 4 or 5 bikes kind of go down in that. And they're not the kind of damage to the bikes you can repair and get it back on the grid.
No, definitely. And I think that this is a scenario where even if there is a bit of damage, it's probably best just to be safe and, maybe say, okay, we're going to set this one out and come back stronger for the next round in Barcelona in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, it's just a reminder as well, isn't it, of the incredible, I say, risks, the inherent skill involved at these levels, the risks these guys do take. Always shocking to see something like that. So apologies that you kind of seen it all. You can imagine we're a little bit shocked in the studio too, but touch wood, as we say, everyone will be okay, and hopefully we'll have these bikes going back out. There's some very, very second-hand bikes getting loaded onto the trailers now.
To be fair, the frame doesn't look too bad itself. It just seems like most of the fairing has been ripped off.
Yeah, and the seat unit. No,
that's C unit's gone. I mean, I don't think they'll be lining up for race 2, but it's certainly not as bad as you would think. Obviously, that bike will probably need a completely new front end there. But, you look at that rear swing arm and it's okay. Obviously, that crash was made even more dramatic by the fireball. There we can see the fairing of one of the stock 600 bikes that looks like the R6, most likely of Jacopo Quartaro.
Yeah, it does, actually. Yeah, it is, in fact. So, yeah, as you say, maybe not. Is that 9? I don't know. We'll find out. I think there were more than 3 riders down. I'm not sure. But I say, as soon as we get the information, we will let you know. So if you are just tuning in, we should be getting a restarted Moto2 European Superbike race 2 shortly. As you can see, there was an incident, a crash involving some riders towards the back of the field.
Yes, just on the exit of turn 15. The Andorran rider, Xavi Cardenas, he had a high side. His bike tore itself apart, and then unfortunately debris did get in the track, which took a number of other riders down. At least 2 riders did receive medical attention. There were a fair few others down, but most of them were able to luckily walk away.
Yeah, which is a miracle in itself when you see something like that. As we say, 2 riders we know have been taken to the medical centre. More word on that as we get it. We're kind of isolated up where we are. We're not down in the actual main paddock. We're up in the top paddock. So we'll hopefully get someone come and give us a message and let us know. No word as yet on when the race will be restarted, but as Harry mentioned, it would be a quick restart procedure once the track is all clear, and it kind of looks like they have managed to get that all cleared. So we should be getting underway quite shortly here. More parts of bikes coming back there and being added to the collection. It's trying to match up the parts to the bike, I should imagine. It's quite the hard bit. That's blue. That goes with that one.
Nice of the marshal to at least help the teams out a bit so that they don't have to put it all together.
I've got to admit, I've handed a couple of bikes back in boxes before to people, and they've like lent me to test ride and things like that, which is never the best way to do it. But the teams there, as you can see, all just taking stock of kind of what's happened. And I think some will have a lot of work on their hands, but as you say, most of those bikes were damaged beyond repair for a quick start procedure. But a bit of a shock, I think, over the paddock at the moment. Everyone just
definitely,
taking
and
stock.
especially for that Leopard Stratos team who do run Michael Aquino. They'll all be very eager to find out what's happening with him, as all of us are, and as I'm sure all of the viewers out there are. You might have a favourite rider in a series, but certainly when a rider gets injured, that's when the motorcycling community
all comes together.
Comes together, and I like this rider, I don't like that rider. It all goes out the window, and it's all about finding out if they are okay and doing everything that can be done to help them.
And you can see how worried the team are there. Hopefully, as I say, we'll get word shortly. It does. I don't want to speculate, but we've seen Javi Cardenas walking away, hadn't we?
Yeah.
So it looks like maybe it was Michael Aquino and Jacopo Quartaro who've gone to the hospital. But as I say, until I get confirmation, I'm not going to talk too much about that. So the marshal's done a brilliant job. Everything looks like it's packed away. The bike's ready to go back in bits, admittedly, but they are ready to go back to pit lane track. Hopefully, looks like it is ready to see some more racing action.
Yeah, and we could easily see the riders given 1 or 2 extra siding laps as well, just to make sure that the track condition is okay. because it's all very well and good that the safety inspector goes there and, you know, grinds the ground with his foot a little bit.
Until you go over that on a bike, you don't know, do you? And as you say, and what a place for it to be as well. It's the exit of turn 15, one of the fastest, where you're really getting on the gas to get the power down that back straight. So you need to be 100% sure.
Yeah, exactly, because if there is a little bit of liquid there just as you're getting on the gas, then that's almost a guaranteed high side. So we definitely don't want that. There we can see most of the Stratos team looking on, just waiting for updates as we are.
Yeah. Is that Mika Hogland, or that's one of their riders, isn't it? Yeah, from the Superbike Championship, I think.
Yes, I'm better at telling riders with their helmets on.
Yes, I know, unfortunately me too. There's quite a few big grids down here in the CV, but there's a few more smiles in the garage there, which is reassuring to see. And as I said, as you can see, everyone worried, everyone panicked, everyone gathering around the screens to see what's going on. We will give you as much news as we possibly can when it comes through in regards to the restart procedure. Not a lot of action going on down there at the moment, so maybe...
No, it looks like they had the placards out on the grid for the positions, so it looks like we will see a restart, hopefully. That's just me assuming there, but yeah, as you say, it doesn't seem like there's a huge amount of pit activity. Teams probably just waiting to be informed what is happening. We don't quite have IRTA here, but we do have an organisation that helps to tell the teams what is going on and to make them aware of the situation. So I'm sure that the members of that team will be going garage to garage and letting everyone know what's happening.
Yeah, and as you say, right now, the teams that weren't involved in that accident, it's a case of the riders going back to the garage, not taking off their levers, getting rid of their helmets and gloves, trying to stay focused and trying to calm down, because it's distressing. And as you said, they all had to come around and see, obviously, the damage, the riders lying there, and exactly what we're saying. There's Stephen Odendale just trying to stay calm, stay focused. Nothing to do with him. He was, you know, weighing the lead, and they probably come around and saw the red flag and just hope everyone's okay. And when they came around and saw the accident, then it's concern. That's all there is now.
You can see the concern on Stephen Odendale's face there, a bit of a smile now that he knows the camera's on him. But yeah, you know, you're not going to see any riders getting too silly in front of the camera because they are all concerned about their fellow riders.
And it's a case of they're all sitting there watching, listening as we are, just to wait to hear what actually has happened. As you can see, as Harry pointed out, the grid markers are out for the riders with the ones that are missing. And it looks like, Harry, you've got some news for us.
Yes, it looks like we will have the quick restart procedure, as I said, and pit lane will open at 15:27 local time for 60 seconds, and it will be a 10-lap race. That's not quite what's coming up on your screens now, but that is what is going to happen. So that is in 5 minutes. Pit lane will open for 60 seconds. All riders must leave pit lane within those 60 seconds.
Yeah, we don't want another Mugello on
Yeah, because what happened in Mugello was there was a slight breakdown in communication, and some teams weren't quite aware of the rule. It's down to the teams to read the rule book, and some teams maybe hadn't read it.
Because they changed it and they hadn't polished up, and they thought they had a couple. You're right, and it was 60-second window that a lot of riders missed. And I think, funnily enough, after that instant, though, these teams might have checked up on the rule book.
And it is confirmed, as I had speculated, that grid positions will be based on the original starting grid. So it is once again Stephen Odendale lining up on pole there. You can see their numbers for the grid position. A couple of holes there for the various riders who aren't going to be starting this race.
Yes, and as we see, it looks like, as we say, Jacopo Crotaro, number 73, number 6, Michael Aquino, and Javier Pinces definitely won't be taking part in this race. I imagine there'll be a few of the bikes, maybe Pontus Julian, they'll want to check over that bike because it did have literally a petrol tank explode underneath it. I wonder if any rubber valves, you know, anything like that on the bike could have melted.
Yeah, well, that and even just the blow that the front end took, you know, sure he managed to save it, but that could have easily damaged the forks or damaged a wide number of other things.
Yeah, it's one of those situations, as you say, where we just need to wait to see. They are going to be heading out of pit lane, and the race will start for 10 laps. The pit lane will open at 3:27, as Harry mentioned. All grid positions based on the original starting grid, as you can see there. So Odendale on pole, Remy Gardner, Tetsuka Nakashima, Alan Tesha, and Augusto Fernandez and Eric Granado will be the front two rows.
Yep, certainly, and as we say, it will be a reduced race, just 10 laps. We saw again in Mugello, it was similar circumstances.
Exactly that, wasn't it? Yeah.
That was just a 10-lap race, and that proved to be an absolutely thrilling race because riders can go out there and can sort of put tyre concerns to the back of their mind. It will be
It's a
full
sprint,
gas.
isn't
which
it? You're completely
could,
right.
Could suit Remy Gardner quite well, given his past history for issues towards the end of the race.
So he kept it upright in that race, so that's admittedly only 1.5 laps, but he did well. No, it's obviously a bit of banter there between us, but no, it is that situation, 10-lap sprint, as you say, tyre wear, all of the strategies and tactics go out the window, and with a few gaps on the grid, it gives opportunity for a number of riders to score very, very valuable points. For the championship leaders, the guys in the front who weren't involved at all in that battle, as we said, the hardest thing is now to refocus, to realise they've got to go out there and do it again, and for a 10-lap race with everybody who's going to be trying it, aren't they? Because it's their chance to get a brilliant result and score some championship points. So,
yeah, exactly. And here you can see the official news on the scroll at the bottom of your screens. Quick restart procedure. Pit lane will open at 15:27. That's in now exactly 2 minutes time. It'll be open for 60 seconds. The race will be 10 laps. Grid positions based on the original starting grid.
Yeah.
There's Max Enderleinen, the teammate to Michael Aquino. He will be getting back out there to have another crack at the whip. Riders now getting ready, putting on their gloves and helmets to make sure that they are ready and waiting. Don't want to get caught out. You know, it does take a little bit to put on your helmet and to put on your gloves, so you definitely don't want to be doing that at 15:27.
anyone that has ever put on race boots, race gloves, helmet and stuff, especially in temperatures like they got down there, knows that if you have to rush, you start sweating, and then it comes harder and harder, and you can't physically do it. It's a nightmare. So yeah, as you say, everyone getting ready. They're going to head out. They've got that 60-second window to go out and pit lane to make their way round and reform on the grid. And we are going to have some racing, which is good to hear. And as I say, we will let you know if as soon as we get any medical updates from that crash, because it was. I'm still genuinely a little bit in shock. Sorry to keep talking about it, but it was a little bit of one of those moments you don't often see something as spectacular as that, and it was horrific to watch. But everyone, as we say, getting ready for the restart, and it is race 2 in the Moto2 European Championship. It seems so long ago since we were talking about the championship and the grid lineup, but it is Stephen Odendahl who is on for 3 consecutive wins if he can pin off the race win here, having won race 1 here today and race 2 at Valencia at the last round. So pit lane reopening in 30 seconds, and you should see a bit more activity down in pit lane as riders starting to get on their bikes starting to be warmed up, and everyone heading out to meet the pit lane.
Yep, there we have the red flag being waved as riders do start to come out. It looks like that is Ika Lukono, I think, who is the first one, just waiting for the marshals to let them out. They are still about 15 seconds early, so it doesn't look like we're going to have the issues we had in Mugello. Everyone here seems to have read the rule book, which is absolutely excellent, and it's great that we can continue on racing. And hopefully it will be a thrilling 10 laps, because from those opening laps we saw, it was a nice group at the front.
It was boiling up to an incredible race, wasn't it? And as you say, all the teams now, the major riders coming out. This is going to be a 10-lap sprint race after the red flag. Moto2 European Superbike, it's a European Championship, I'll get that right. Race number 2 here at MotorLand, Aragon. I'm Luke Wilkins, joining me is Harry Lloyd. We're getting excited for this race now after the red flag incident, which I think took us both by a bit of surprise. And there is Stephen Odendahl, Championship leader, race winner in race 1, heading out onto track. Pit lane is open, so teams have 60 seconds to get their guys out on track.
Only 30 seconds left now, so I will keep a close eye on the official time to see who has missed it, because if a rider does miss leaving pit lane, they will have to start from the back of the grid, so there could be yet more drama, as there is now only 15 seconds left. So I hope that everyone has gotten out on track.
Well, we can hear the bikes making their way round the track. There's a couple who've left it late coming out now.
Granado eking out with about 7 seconds to spare there.
Just good timing there, Eric. Well done. And
so now any riders we see appear out of pit lane now will have to start from the back of the grid, it seems. There you can see the marshal waving the red flag as the safety car does leave pit lane. It looks like everyone who's going to start this race has left the pit lane. They will only have one mechanic on the grid, no tyre warmers, no changes.
It's literally you line up, don't you? A warm-up lap,
yep,
and then you start.
Yep, exactly that.
No brolly girls, as you said. Exactly that. As you can see, one person on the grid. I remember actually that was a shot from Mugello, which we were looking back at. It was an incredible photo of a guy standing in every grid place wearing the team colours. It looked surreal. It was like they'd forgotten the motorbikes, and then you realise that actually the motorbikes hadn't got out of pit lane in time. But yeah, so this is the new quick start procedure that we have in the World Championships this year, and we brought into the FIM-CV Repsol too. So everyone making their way around. They will re-slot onto the grid. We'll give you a quick rundown of positions shortly, and we'll be underway in race 2. An incredible job the marshals have done, really, when you consider the debris on track.
Yeah, really good considering, you know, the circumstances. several riders were down and did have to receive some form of medical attention. So to not only be back racing, but to be back racing so relatively quickly is a true testament to the high level of skill that all of these marshals have and to the organisational skill of the FIM CEV Repsol.
Yeah, man, hats off to them actually for getting it all sorted. As you can see, Stephen Odendahl's team mechanic there waiting at pole position for his rider to arrive. Remy Gardner seems to be lacking someone now, unfortunately.
Budget cuts.
He's just going to do it by himself. That's brilliant. Here comes Odendahl, make this way round then. We'll try and obviously let you know who is on the grid, who isn't, as we run down through them. But we'll just give you the information as much as well as we've got it. I can definitely confirm 75, that's Ivo Lopez on the stock 600 bike down in 19th place. Odendahl is there. Yeah, where's Remy Gardner?
He does have someone there.
That's good. That's nice.
And all of the mechanics are now being told to leave the grid, as is the cameraman, so you can see just how quick that restart procedure is.
The cameraman was get off, run. Okay.
Just one or two technical staff there checking that all the bikes are all okay. We don't even have time for a full rundown. Eric Granado there, the last to form up on the grid, so they are all now waiting for the Brazilian. Oh, looks like we are actually going to get a rundown of the grid. That's good. Stephen Odendahl on pole position again, ahead of Remy Gardner, ahead of Nagashima, with Alan Tescher, Augusto Fernandez and Eric Granado forming the second row.
Senna Yamada, Samuele Cavalieri and Ramdan Rosli are in row 3. All these riders pretty much unaffected by the crash behind them, because I think it was about 12th, 13th place. Michele Cordelis who had the crash. Iker Lecuono in 10th, Xavier Pinsach and Dimas Eki making it row 4. I don't know if Pinsach is actually on the grid though.
No, I believe that this is the grid from the start of the race and has not been adjusted, as Xavier Carlos is there in 13th. He definitely won't be restarting. Jason Uribe, Gabriel Ruhu, they should be.
Ivo Lopez definitely on the grid. I believe Thibaut Bertin is. Marcel Brenner. Pontus Dorlan, he had a huge moment, managed to save it. David Sanchez and Jacopo Quattaro, one of the riders being taken to hospital, we understand. Lucas Tolovic, Anna Carrasco in 26th and Raymond Guillaume in 27th. We believe, as we say, a few of these riders will be missing. We know Quattaro is, and Aquino in 30th. Alex Bernardi in 28th and number 27, who I always get wrong, is Diego Carbo Escriva de Romney, in 27, number 29, and Michael Aquino, and then Thibaut Gorin bringing up the back of the grid for this restarted Moto2 European Championship race.
Yeah, exactly, and great example of how the quick restart procedure is meant to work. So if you were watching in Mugello last weekend, that's how it should have worked, and just imagine the difference that would have made to the Moto2 race there. Great that the riders in the SEV have been reading their rulebooks, and we can get racing underway as soon as possible. Here we have riders coming around just for the second time to run over that patch of debris on the exit of turn 15, as we say. That's where all of these riders, they definitely, even now, even after this, they're going to be very tentative on those first few laps, just to be 100% sure that there's no fuel or anything else down.
And just watch for any riders raising their hands. If they do spit anything on track today or any liquid or anything, you might see them just raise their hand during the section as they're going through. But we're coming down, as we say, this is 13, they're coming through. 14, 15 is where the accident happened, and there it is.
Yep, there we are. There you can see the scorch marks from the Inferno. Everyone seems to have gone through there without too much issue. I believe Alan Tescher was just raising his hand
to let everyone know he's slowing down,
to signal that he was dropping back a bit. But good that no one had any major issues through there. Of course, the real test will be once racing gets back underway. Hopefully everyone can finish this race safe and sound.
Well, from the drama from the first race, the first part of this race that was red flagged, we're looking forward to some excellent racing action. It is our last race of the day for you. We should be able to sneak it in before we finish at 4 o'clock local time, I believe. So then, Stephen Odendahl lines up in a pole position for the third time today.
Anna Carrasco is back on the grid. She, as we said, rode through that Inferno, so she's all okay, no issues for her.
Alex Bernardi's there. I don't see Pontus Dorlan.
No, I believe he's not starting.
But definitely confirmed. Stephen Odendahl, Remy Gardner and Tetsuta Nakashima, your front row. Alan Tescher, Augusto Fernandez and Eric Granado, row 2. Senna Yamada, Samuele Cavalieri and Ramdan Rosli, row 3. Here we go then. 10-lap sprint race for the Moto2 European Championship. Part 2 of the second race, and they're underway. The lights, didn't even see them come on and go off, but Odendahl
quick restart, quick lights.
Yeah, and that is Gardner leading into turn 1. No, Odendahl from Tescher from Gardner, almost identical to race 1.
Yep, great start from Odendaal yet again. Bit more of an advantage over Tesha, but Tesha, we know he's strong in those opening corners, and I'm sure that he'll be looking for a way to get past Odendaal, especially now that this is only a 10-lap race. It is full gas the entire way for all of these riders.
So Odendaal immediately raced one winner here from Aragon, looking for his third race in a row, taking the lead. Everyone just slotting into position. Slightly back through the field, the Fritz Judy and Co-Flame Racing bikes there in the black and yellow, and Odendaal at the front, well, he's putting the hammer down straight away. Remy Gardner already having to fight off the attention of Nag Ashima, and Augusto Fernandez and Eric Granado up into 6th again.
Big moves from Jason Uribe there, the other American in this championship. He was up with Cavalieri, already trying to get his way inside the top 10.
And that is Randan Rosley as well, just behind Dimas Eki, trying to make a move. Rosley currently down in 10th, as you say, and Eki ahead of him in 8th. So we go on here, and there's Nakashima making a very aggressive move. He's moved up into 4th and trying to take third, as he's just snuck in behind Gardner then.
Yep, it looked like Odendaal had opened up a bit of a gap already. Luckily, all of these riders so far, no issues. We are building up to that turn 15. We have heard officially that there were no jump starts, so no further penalties based on the starts. Odendaal with a nice little lead there over to Alan Tesha, who has opened up several bike lengths over Nagashima, who looked to be going up the inside of Remy Gardner.
Here they come through then, turns 14 and 15 for the first time since the accident during the race, and everyone just taking it gingerly through there, look, avoiding the patch as much as they can where that debris was, but it looks like, touch wood, so far everyone through safely. Odendaal, as you say, stretching that lead up already.
Eric Granado taking a bit of a different line there to everyone else, trying to break the slipstream and hopefully catch up to the riders ahead, but not quite able to close down any gap. It is that number 37, Augusto Fernandez, who is just ahead of Eric Granado.
Another great race for Augusto Fernandez. So Odendaal from Tesha, pulling away a little bit from Remy Gardner in 3rd place already, but Gardner won't be liking that. Nagashima having another look up the inside of Gardner, and behind him was Augusto Fernandez having a brilliant race.
Yep, some strong starts. A strong start from Senna Yamada as well, who's up into 8th. No more issues of getting elbowed off the track, hopefully for him.
Well, he had a great start to the second race, as you say, got elbowed onto the dirt a little bit down the straight. So now he's looking to battle back, and he wants to stay away from Ramdan Rosli, I should imagine, after that incident. But here is Odendaal looking comfortable at the front. That bike hardly moving around at all, just riding nice and smooth. The Alan Tesha. And then Remy Gardner and Suzuki Nakashima, front four just starting to break away. Nagashima looking up the inside of Gardner at every corner, but not able to make it stick yet.
Remy riding nice and defensively, hopefully a bit calmer than the first race as well, but the calmest man of them all seems to be Stephen Odendaal, who's just continuing to do what he did in the second race, keeping it nice and smooth and just trying to open up a gap lap by lap.
Yeah, Gardner's gap, Odendaal's gap up over Tesha, over 3 tenths, and another 4 tenths back to Gardner, with Nagashima just a tenth further back. You can see it visually on your screens there, the leading guys. And there are lots of battles down throughout the field. Your top 10 then, after Gardner is Nagashima, Fernandez, Granado, Lecuona, Yamada, Eki, and Razza Mosley, with Theobald Bertan in 11th and Samuel Cavalieri down in 12th. So, 10-lap sprint race. We're on lap 2 of 10. And as you mentioned, Odendaal looking comfortable at the front from Tesha. Gardner now starting to put the pressure on Tesha.
Yeah, Gardner just needs to keep it nice and cool and not try and do anything too rash. But as you say, he is now right with the Frenchman. Interesting to see what his bike is like versus the MTS. That's obviously Remy on the Calex. All of the engines are the same in this Moto2 class, but chassis can have an effect on top speed. Obviously, a longer wheelbase can help with top speed, as Remy has a bit of a sniff up the inside.
Runs it wide.
And then runs it a bit too deep. Will Nagashima get past? Nagashima's coming, but no. Remy manages to just pull it back in to stay ahead of the Japanese rider.
Remy did brilliantly there, actually, to as you say, to not lose a lot more time there. I thought he was going to run very, very wide, but we say that Nagashima has another look up the inside, down into turn 1, but still at Odendaal from Tesha, Nagashima 3rd, and Augusto Fernandez in 5th. Again, brilliant race from him with Eric Granado, race 1, race winner from Valencia in 6th. Ike Lecuona was also impressive in 7th ahead of Senna Yamada. Dimas Eki and Randan Rosli completing the top 10. Here we go then. Here is Odendaal. Tesha looking to put a bit of pressure on, and Nagashima just won't. He's put the fastest lap in there. He won't let Gardner get away, will he?
Yeah, and 3 tenths off the best lap of the previous race, so Nagashima already settling into a pretty good pace, and he just needs to try and get his way past Remy Gardner, but Remy Gardner's not going to go down without a fight, because I think Nagashima can challenge, maybe not Odendaal, but certainly Tesha for at least 2nd place if he can get past Gardner.
Yeah, Augusto Fernandez again doing a great job at the back of this group for 5th, and it does look like Eric Granado might just be getting slightly dropped behind them. And there is Ike Lecuona in 7th, number 7, having a brilliant race. He's dropped down the field there. The riders just starting to spread out a little bit as they all get to grips, let the tyres heat up and get into their rhythm for this race. So after that, red flag, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, we're already on the 3rd lap of 10, so we're already at 1/3 race distance. It's really, really quick 10 laps, you know, with the average lap time of 1:56. That's over in under 20 minutes, so it is an absolute flyer. Here we see Remy Gardner, something coming from almost nowhere to go up the around the outside rather, of Alan Tesher and move into second place. The Australian clearly with a lot of pace there. Not sure where he made all that up, because it seemed like for a while he was just trying to defend himself from Nagashima.
He's come from out of nowhere there. He must have carried so much speed, unless Tesher made a mistake. That's unbelievable from Gardner. Brilliant work from the young Australians. You say riding around the outside through turns 14 and 15. It's brave man to do that. So they come into the final two corners as they come around to complete lap 3 of 10 in this 10-lap sprint race after the initial race was red flagged. And it is Odendahl. What is his gap at the front? It was half a second last time around. It's now just down to 2/10. So, Remy Gardner closing up on the race leader. He's bringing Tesher, Nagashima and Fernandez with him.
Yep, all 5 of these riders are within touching distance, less than a quarter of a second between each of them. Alan Tesher seems to be really strong through the first half of the lap, so he'll try and harry Remy Gardner a bit.
And as you say at the back of this, you have Tesher, and then it is Nagashima, and Augusto Fernandez might start to get dropped as the race goes on. He did so well in race 1, so we'll have to wait and see. But there is Gardner. It did come up the inside, you're right, at 13, and then ran wide. They managed to hold it by the looks of it. Incredible stuff. Yeah,
great pass there from Remy Gardner to get past Alan Tesher. Alan Tesher, very experienced in this Moto2 class, and especially in the SEV. This is, I believe, his 3rd season in this class, and he enters almost every season as a title contender. So for Remy to get past him is a really good job for him. But now the bigger hurdle of surpassing Stephen Odendahl does stand for Remy Gardner, who did set the fast lap of the race with 1:55.5 last lap.
And Eric Granado just trying to not get dropped off the back of that leading group of 5. And this is Dimas Eki and Senna Yamada. Senna Yamada closing down on Eki, and that's the battle for 8th, I should say, sorry.
Yep, and there we see Alan Tesher's NTS Pro Team looking on anxiously as the Frenchman tries to chase down Remy Gardner, but doesn't seem to be able to make any serious impression.
It's interesting to see the different lines for Gardner, just letting it run a little bit wide and cutting it back earlier. And here is Odendahl now. He's definitely got a few bike lengths there, as we say. Last time around, it's just under 3/10 to get. We'll see what it is when they come across the lines complete lap 4. But look at that heat haze down this gorgeous Aragon back straight. And here comes Tesher on Gardner. He has a look, but he can't outbreak the Australian. Frenchman settling and just sticking to 3rd there.
No, Nagashima there in 4th position, just watching and waiting for his moment. Same with Fernandez. Both of those guys just waiting for their moment to attack. Meanwhile, Eric Granado, he's quite strong, but he's over half a second back on Fernandez in 5th. So Granado really needs to get a hurry on as the top 3 close up into turn 1, but the positions stay the same.
So Gardner, Tesher, as you say, Nagashima take a completely different line through that corner, trying to exert pressure on these, and it looks like they might just, if they're not careful, let Odendahl escape at the front. Because the South African is looking in ominous form. He's smooth, he's quick. The bike's hardly moving around under him, which we've seen a lot before other rounds. So looks like his team have got that set up beautifully, that AGR team Calex. And here he is, so Gardner.
Yeah, exactly. And while Gardner's able to close up on Odendahl on occasion, it doesn't seem like he's able to attack the South African. So Odendahl can just keep putting in these high 155s and probably keep an advantage, especially when the riders behind are all battling it out amongst themselves.
Granado definitely has, Granado should say, has increased his pace and joined on the back of this. So we now have a 6-way battle for the win. So Granado getting dropped early in the stages, the man who won the first race in Valencia for crashing out the lead in race 2 at Valencia. Looking like he is finding a bit more confidence and a bit more pace to hang on the back of these guys and will fancy challenging for the podium. So it's Odendahl then still in the lead. That gap pretty consistent at 3/10 over Gardner, with Tesher, Nagashima, Fernandez in 5th and Eric Granado in 6th. And it's a couple of seconds back to Lekuona in 7th. Dimas Eki, Senna Yamada and Thibaut Bertin complete the top 10.
Nagashima continue. Oh, Remy Gardner, huge save there, but a definite warning sign to the Australian to ease it off at least a little bit. I'm not quite sure how he saved that, if it was on his foot or on his knee. He does have to, unfortunately, concede 2nd and 3rd position. But fair play to him for keeping that one up. That was absolutely incredible.
So he saved that with his elbow knee while he was actually not on the bike effectively, because his right leg had come off the bike as well. That's one of the best saves you'll ever see. Brilliant.
Runs a bit wide there. The adrenaline probably making him shake a bit from that incredible save. Fernandez. Oh, there we have an unfortunate crash.
David Sanchez on the Bullet motorcycle, 17-year-old Spaniard, has gone down.
Yep, on the MIR racing bike, David Sanchez has made the step up from the Moto3 Junior World Championship last year. There we go.
Just exactly the same place Gardner lost it, wasn't it?
unfortunately not quite able to save in the same spectacular fashion, but good that he is clearly unhurt and straight up away. Looks like a rider there had run wide and was rejoining the track.
It came across the screen going in the wrong direction. It was a bit worrying. But then Odendaal's gap at the front now, and it's almost up. It's over 0.6 of a second. Visually, it looks like it's getting closer to a second. So Alan Tesha and Nagashima, well, it looks like Nagashima has actually taken Tesha for second, and he has.
Yeah, meanwhile, Remy Gardner, he's dropped off the 2, battling for second and third as Tesha comes up the inside. And Nagashima tries to respond immediately with a tight line, but I think Tesha will have the speed, having taken the wide line. He does, but here comes Nagashima trying it on the brakes. No, can't quite get through, but it does allow Remy Gardner to continue to inch up even closer.
So while Odendaal is starting to pull away at the front, we have a 5-way battle for the podium. The last 2 podium spots here between Tesha Nagashima, Augusto Fernandez, Remy Gardner, and Eric Granado. And Granado has actually taken Augusto Fernandez into 5th, so Granado really starting to make a move. But it looks like Fernandez has fought back and retaken 5th place from Granado.
Here we see, here's the Remy Gardner save. Just watch this.
This is something special.
So he loses what looks to be the front end, then as you say, just bangs it up on his knee and on his elbow. Unfortunately, David Sanchez not quite able.
But he did that with his left leg completely off the bike, which is incredible. So he's pushed him up and pushed himself back onto the bike at the same time. Amazing from Gardner. So here's Tesha. Is Nagashima going to pull out of the slipstream, attempt something into turn 16? It looks like he might. And a very interesting line there from Granado to try and prevent Fernandez from getting the slipstream, but it looks like Fernandez has passed him anyway.
Yep, Nagashima runs it very, very wide. That'll be great for Remy Gardner, saying thank you very much, back up into a potential podium position. Big mistake there from Nagashima, though. He now has to do all that work again. Can he get back up to second? There's only 3 laps left as we start the 7th lap of 10. This race is very much in its closing stages now.
Yeah, you forget that it is a short and sprint race, so these guys really, as you say, battling for the podium. There's only a few laps left to do it in. So 3.75 laps left. It is Odendaal's whose lead at the front is almost a second. Has he checked out to take his 3rd win in a row in the Moto2 European Championship? Looks like he's just set the fastest lap as well. He was 0.3 quicker than Alan Tesha on that last lap round, and they're the only 2 men in the 155s.
Yeah, and Stephen Odendaal continues to up the pace, dropping into the low 155s, 0.3 of a second quicker than Alan Tesha that last lap, and Tesha was in turn about 0.4 of a second faster than all of the riders behind him.
So then it looks like Odendaal might have checked out for the win. Tesha starting to pull away from the battle for 3rd now. Behind him, Remy Gardner just starting to drop back. He's 0.7 behind Tesha. Gardner after that big moment, coming under pressure from Nagashima, maybe just thinking podium's good enough for today. I've had enough of chucking it down the road.
Yeah, and this would be Remy Gardner's debut podium if he can finish on the podium, although he does have Nagashima breathing down his neck. There's Wayne Gardner, Remy Gardner's father and a world champion, urging him on. Wayne clearly looking a bit tense at the situation.
Because they say the tension finishes when you stop racing, not if you've got kids who race, clearly.
Nah,
but
here comes Nagashima having a look. Remy Gardner braking hard on the rumble strips. Pretty dangerous that those rumble strips are quite raised and they're not as smooth as they look on TV.
I think Gardner might have conceded drive there to get the line out of that corner. He's
nice block there though from him to try and cut some speed off from Nagashima.
Here comes Nagashima into turn 16. He's going to have a look. No, he just can't get on the brakes late as Gardner. So Gardner keeps 3rd position his own, as you say. Unbelievably, considering he's been in the lead.
Gardner a bit wide though, so Nagashima are able to close up and is going to try and do something onto the start-finish straight, I reckon, and certainly into turn 1.
Yeah, as you say, unbelievable that Gardner, considering he's been the lead in every race we watched so far, hasn't had a podium yet. So there is Nagashima, manages to get it stopped just about to turn 1. No, does he? He runs Gardner a little bit wide, actually. Gardner trying to cut back, but can't. And all the while, Augusto Fernandez is gaining on them behind him, just thinking, thank you very much, boys. This is playing into my hands.
Yeah, and it looks like Granado has dropped off the pace just a tiny bit there. Meanwhile, Alan Tesha continuing to make slow inroads into Stephen Odendaal, just over half a second behind the South African.
He was actually 0.3 quicker last time around than Odendaal, so Odendaal shouldn't be experiencing tyre issues. Maybe he just rolled off a little bit. We've seen him control the wheels brilliantly, but he's reduced, as you say, it down to just 0.6 coming through the 1st sector. So could we see a 2-way battle at the front? Could Tesha challenge Odendaal for the win? We'll have to wait and see. But Gardner starting to drop back into the hands of Augusto Fernandez if he's not careful.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like Nagashima does have this slight advantage over Remy Gardner, but maybe can pull something out in the final sector and in those coming laps. We still do have 2 and a bit laps to go, so there is still time for a move, but it's really now or never.
As you say, 2 laps and a bit to go, and this is Odendaal coming across the line. This is Nagashima passing Gardner, having carried the drive out of that corner and taking 3rd place into turn 1. Good replay, nice clean pass from the Japanese rider. Right, so can Gardner fight back? Well, it doesn't look like he's got the pace from Nagashima, but Augusto Fernandez and Granado, who look like being dropped, are starting to kind of close up behind him. But here we go, Odendal coming down the back straight. That advantage was 0.6 of a second last time they went for the split. We were going to hear it's gone up to 0.8 now, and Nagashima's obviously second, further back in third. So, field's starting to spread out a bit in this 10-lap sprint race.
Beautiful use of slipstream there from number 37, Augusto Fernandez. He stayed in as long as he could with Remy Gardner and only broke the slipstream when he thought he was going to touch his rear wheel. Exactly what you want to do. Unfortunately, it didn't end in him overtaking, but he has made up significant ground.
Here he comes
and
down.
No doubt we'll see at least a lunge into turn one. He tries it, but no. Gardner really late on the brakes. Beautiful braking there.
Superb from Gardner to keep that position. But yeah, and he manages to hold us on 41 right there for a second. Apologies. Manages to hold on to it. So he is in fourth, be his best finish, as you say, of the season so far. Odendal at the front, gap 7.5 tenths of a second. So staying about the same now, but Tetsuta Nagashima, wow, the only man in the 154s all day so far, like all day in this race, I should say. 154.8 in third, 1.3 seconds back from the leader, but only half a second or 8 tenths back from Tesha. So these riders, as you say, it's a sprint race.
Tesha better watch out.
Yeah.
And there we see Fernandez try and get past Remy Gardner. Remy tries to close the draw on him down the straight and then takes a nice tight line through turn 8 to begin the drop down to turn 9 through that infamous Aragon corkscrew.
So we're already on the penultimate lap. So they're coming round to the final straight in just a bit for the second to last time. If anyone is going to make a move now, as you say, is the time to start lining up, start thinking, where am I quicker? Where can I get past? As they come through turns 11 and 12.
It looks like the podium's gone for the likes of Gardner, Fernandez and Granado, in all honesty. You know, you have Tesha closing up or trying to close up on Odendal, and then Nagashima's just pounding in those fast laps. So I think it's going to be these three, maybe even a three-way fight for victory if Nagashima can, you know, really up his pace on the last lap. Odendal looking back, trying to see who's there and how far behind they are.
Half a second is all that separates Tesha. He's taken another 10th off through that second sector. So, Odendal, Tesha, Nagashima, as you were, ladies and gentlemen. This is, no, not running wide there, or is that just the line he likes to take? But it's given Tesha a chance to cut back, and he's closer than he's ever been in the last couple of laps, Tesha. As they come across the line, it should only be a couple of tenths, if that separate them. In fact, it's 1 tenth. So he's definitely closed up on Odendal, and I think we're going to see him make a move on this final lap.
Yeah, right with them, and then their battling will allow Nagashima to close up even more. Remy Gardner, he's just trying to defend his fourth place from Fernandez.
And here is Augusto Fernandez, as you say, with Eric Granado behind them. And Remy Gardner can't say how good he is on the brakes, because that's about 4 or 5 times that brake people's last corner. But here is Tesha, the battle for the lead. Can Odendal hold on? Nagashima's made third his own, and this is Gardner, Fernandez and Granado in the battle for fourth.
Yep, 2 nice 3-rider battles here. Nagashima maybe just a bit too far to make a lunge. As it is, Alan Tesha, he probably needs to try and close up, but Stephen Odendal has set the fastest first sector.
Up the inside of Gardner.
Great move from Fernandez there. I believe that's actually the battle for fourth, not for third. But Remy Gardner looks like he's going to have Eric Granado try and move. No, the Brazilian not quite close enough to Remy Gardner.
So they come through the reverse corkscrew for the final time. Gardner having dropped down to 5th at this moment with Augusto Fernandez up into 4th. Brilliant ride from Fernandez. The front three broken away, but they've closed up as well. This could be an incredibly dramatic end to the final race of today.
Yeah, but it looks like we're going to have a great battle, not only for first, but also for fourth. It is all about these corners leading onto the front straight, and then finally those last 2 corners here. Alan Tesha, he's close, but he's not close enough, I don't think. That's 5 bike lengths or so. He's going to need to make up a lot of ground through these corners and try and get the perfect drive onto the straight to set something up into turn 16 and then carry that pace through to 17. As we've said, those 2 corners almost act as one.
So they come down the back straight for the final time. It's Odendal, Tesha, Nagashima, Gardner, who's retaken 4th, Fernandez and Granado. Those 2-3 three-rider battles you can see for first and for 4th further back. And it looks like Odendal coming into the last 2 corners.
Yeah, it looks like he's had just enough. And it looks like Tesha will just be able to hold off Nagashima as well. There you go. Double victory for Stephen Odendal. The South African makes it 1-1 as Alan Tesha again on the podium with Nagashima finishing in 3rd. And it looks like Fernandez, a great result from him to beat out Remy Gardner. Remy Gardner then in turn beating out Granado.
Wow, and that is that is Stephen Odendall's third consecutive win. Wait all that time for one to come along, and then he gets 3 in 1. So just crossing the line there as well. Aika Lekuono in 7th of the Great Race, Senna Yanada in 8th, and Dimas Eki 9th. Theobald Burton's just crossed in 10th, Jason Uribe in 11th, Samuele Cavalieri 12th, Gabriel Ruhu in 13th, Thomas Gradiger 14th, and the final point scoring place should come down to Thomas Sigvartsson, and it does, I believe. Yes, Max Enderlein, Random Mosley, and Marcel Brunner, your top 18. Ivo Lopez will be 19th. Looks like Anna Carrasco from 26th up to 20th. Great work from her. But Stephen Odendall, man, the South African is on a roll. The most successful South African ever to race in the FIM CEV Repsol. He has now made it 3 wins in a row, and he's not finished outside the top 2 all season. 2nd in the first race in Valencia, 1 race 2, and he's done the double here at MotorLand Aragon to extend his lead in the championship. Alain Tescher, though, great stuff from the Frenchman. He also has been ever present on the podium this year, finishing 3rd in race 1 here. He's finished 2nd here, 2nd and 3rd at Valencia as well for the Frenchman. So a brilliant result for him. And Tetsuka Nagashima, a double podium for here today. He finished 2nd in race 1, and he's managed to cross the line in 3rd in race 2. So brilliant work from Nagashima. Having scored 0 points at the first round, he has made sure he's got 2 podiums to his name at round 3 of the FIM CV Repsol. Granada as well, back into the top 6. Remy Gardner there. A little bit disappointed to not finish on the podium, but he'll take that 5th place, I think, after that incredible save as well. And Augusto Fernandez, what a weekend for him. 4th in race 1, 4th in race 2. The Spaniard 23-year-old, as I say, making his debut in the Moto2 European Championship today. He's leading the Stock 600 Championship in Spain. Brilliant ride from him. Unlucky to miss out on a debut podium, but that's all to Stephen Odendall. And Harry's making his way down to Parc Fermé to have a chat with the South African, who I imagine will be delighted after that victory. And that's a huge wheelie, and we're still waiting to hear on the 2 riders that were taken to Australia. I don't know if we'll have time to update. You've only got a few moments left, obviously, in this broadcast, a few minutes left, but we'll try and let you know if we do hear anything. But here's Odendall, just cruising back to Parc Fermé, incredibly happy with the win and taking the salutations of the crowd. Marshall's giving Odendall a good round of applause. He acknowledging them as well. And for the South African, we mentioned how wins can be like buses. It's such a confidence thing, motorcycle racing. You win your first race like he did at the race 2, round 1 in Valencia. And it's a mental block, isn't it? He's now added 2 more, doing his first ever double, as we say, in the process of the most successful South Africans ever ride in the CEV Championship, beating Brad Binder's record of 1 win. Odendall extremely happy, hugging his fiancée and his team. He'll be over the moon, and it's brilliant professional work from them. Tescher in 2nd place, and Nagashima completing the podium with the IO Motorsport Academy team. And I think those guys, very grateful. It's obviously identical podiums we had in race 1, except it was Odendall, Nagashima, Tescher in race 1. So Nagashima and Tescher swapping places. But yeah, relief, I think, there from those guys getting on the podium. It was a hard day. Obviously, when you had a dramatic accident that we saw, I've never seen anything like that at the start of the Moto2 race. I saw it Fred flagged, and Nagashima explaining why his front end, I think, or maybe the limiter, was causing problems. But let's get official confirmation then of the race result. I'm losing my voice. It's been so dramatic. Here we go. Stephen Odendall taking the double here at MotorLand Aragon in the Moto2 European Championship. Race 4 of 10. Ahead of Alain Tescher by just a 10th. Tetsuka Nakashima 4 tenths back in 3rd. Augusto Fernandez 2nd, 4th place of the day for him. Remy Gardner 5th. Eric Granado 6th. Aika Lekuono 7th. Senna Yamada 8th. And Dimas Eki completing your top 9. And we weren't disappointed with any of the racing, so it's got to be said. Theobald Burton 10th, Jason Uribe 11th, Samuele Cavalieri 12th, Gabriel Ruhu in 13th, Thomas Gradiger 14th, and Thomas Sigvartsson, the Norwegian, grabbing the last championship point. Max Enderlein 16th, Randam Nodzi 17th, Ivo Lopez in 19th, Anna Carrasco 20th, Lucas Tolovic, Guillaume Raymond, and Alex Bernardi completing the lineup, while Carbo Scriva de Romani, David Sanchez, Stefan Goran, and Pontus Sturlin all went out of that race. Harry is down in Parc Fermé, ready to chat to Stephen Odendall.
3 race wins in a row, but that race was a bit tricky with the red flag, eh?
Yeah, no, the red flag definitely played a big role in that race. You know, like I knew my strategy was because better if I had longer laps, but obviously with a 10-lap dash, I put the hammer down in the beginning, and then I decided to relax a little bit, but maybe a little bit too much. And Tescher was right on my tail, so you know, I pushed right until the very last corner, and you know, on top again, I'm super happy for the team and for everyone. And you know, this just helps my confidence, and let's see, we can move to Barcelona and try do the same job. I really am happy with the team, and thanks for everyone and their support.
Super. Good luck for the next round.
Stephen Odendahl there, as we say, making it 3 wins in a row. Let's have a look at how it happened. The word go, it was a great start from Odendahl, with Remy Gardner pulling a massive wheelie, and that is the moment when it all went P-tong, shall we say. Look at the fuel tank come across here and watch riders hitting the fuel tank. Potter Sturden, one of the saves you'll ever see. It was, oh yeah, I don't want to watch that again actually. That was pretty nasty. Marshals did an incredible job with a quick start procedure, 10-lap sprint race. Still waiting to hear what's on a couple of riders. Hopefully they'll be okay. After the sprint race was set off, it was only 10 laps. Well, Odendahl, I don't think he ever got headed at the front of the field. He got the whole shot and disappeared. Tesha Gardner was in third and looking good for a podium, but a couple of moments in, one of the best saves you'll ever see from Remy Gardner coming up in just a bit as he completely loses the front and picks it up with his elbow, knee, and somehow pushes himself back on the bike. And he was involved, as I say, at one point up into second. Kazuka Nagashima looking very impressive in fourth at this point. And Augusto Fernandez and Eric Granado, well, they'd all gone off at the front, and that was Gardner there running wide, as you say, and doing that incredible save. Unfortunately, then David Sanchez would crash out of the race from further down the field, but Odendahl would go on and start to build a lead at the front. Not a huge one, which saw Alan Tesha fight back in the final stage. You can see the front three, they had the podium settled on. Great battle then for fourth place between Remy Gardner, Augusto Fernandez, and Eric Granado, with Augusto Fernandez coming out on top over Remy Gardner in the end. As you can see, Fernandez got a lovely move on the Australian there. Wayne Gardner, his dad, a little bit disappointed, but Remy would cross the line in fifth overall. So not a terrible end to his day. Stephen Odendahl celebrating their brilliant victory. 3 in a row for the South African. Tesha in second and Nagashima third. That's your podium, and those guys will be making their way up to the podium as we speak to get on the carver and celebrate the race win. Augusto Fernando beating Remy Gardner to the line to secure fourth. Gardner in fifth. As I mentioned, Eric Granado, race winner in race 1 at Valencia, crossing the line in 6th. And look what it meant to Stephen Odendahl and his South African and his AGR team. So leading stock rider Ivo Lopez returns to the podium for the 2nd race in a row. That should see him, I believe, open up quite a massive lead in the Stock 600 Championship, as I think he was the only Stock 600 rider to finish the race after the restart. Then it is Nagashima in third, as you see, Tesha in second, and Stephen Odendahl, he's getting used to that first place now. 3 races in a row, having never been on the top step of the podium before. He's now been there for 3 consecutive races, really stamping his authority on this Moto2 European Championship and showing the class that he has as a rider. Kazuka Nagashima, another podium for him too today. He'll be delighted. He swapped places with Alan Tesha from the race 1 podium. He's in third after race 2. But as you say, after picking up 0 points, just letting him know, yeah, no, you want to give it to Alan. I've already got my trophy. You just gave it to me. Good work from Nagashima on the podium. Alan Tesha, 2nd podium of the day from him, improving from 3rd in race 1 to take race 2. But it's all been about that man, Stephen Odendahl. Timed it to perfection in race 1, winning by over a couple of seconds in the end to make his break, and then just commanding. 10-lap sprint race, knew he had to get away at the front, and despite coming under pressure in the final few corners, he did superbly. Offering a kiss up there to the big man from Repsol himself, and getting presented with his winnings trophy. His 2nd of the day, first time he's ever done the double, and most successful South African to ride in the CEV, and we will have the South African national anthem in just a bit. I think the first we're going to have the gratuitous, oversized novelty check, which does indeed come out for Stephen Odendahl. He's got 2 of those now, so lots of free fuel for the South African and his AGR team. And rounds of applause for all the other riders on the podium. And it's time for us to hear the South African national anthem for the 2nd time today. Third time in the 3 races we've heard the South African national anthem in the Moto2 European
Great
Championship.
little jump there. Jumping that high in leathers is pretty hard.
And they're not so shy about spraying the champagne on each other after race 2. Obviously, after race 1, they had to wear those leathers again. They've got 2 weeks now until we do it all again in Barcelona, which takes place on the 12th of June at the Circuit Barcelona de Catalunya. Don't want to miss that. 2 Moto3 races, 2 Moto2 races, and 1 Superbike race. We also have the Kawasaki Z Cup there as well. Right then, so championship standing, Stephen Odendahl. I should imagine it sees his lead extend even more. 23 points, it's huge over Alan Tesher in second. Tetsuka Nagashima in third, just 1 point ahead of Eric Granado. He's now taken third from Granado. Diego Albertin moves up a spot into fifth. Federico Fellini in sixth, he's not here this weekend. Samuele Cavalieri, he's seventh. Xavi Cardelas and Augusto Fernandez. Brilliant work from him, 26 points at his debut weekend.
Yeah, not too bad, coming in ninth on your debut weekend after only 2 races.
2
really,
fourth
really
places,
good for him.
really impressed me.
Jason Uribe, a great result from him to be 10th overall. He's still not the best in qualifying, but come race day, he really puts in the effort to get ahead of Thomas Sigvarts and Demas Eki, Seni Yamada, Gabriel Ruhu. Remy Gardner finally gets some points ahead of Max Henderlein.
And Ramdan Rosli down there, you can see in 19th, and picked up 9 points. Top of manager Pontus Durlan picking up points today earlier on. Jacobo Coutaro is one of the riders we're looking to be taken hostile. Ivo Lopez and Marcel Brenner with 2 points at the bottom of the championship standing. So it's been an amazing time here at MotorLand Aragon. We hope you've enjoyed your 5 races. We're back in 2 weeks' time at Barcelona for round 4 of the FIM CEV Repsol 2016. What a day's racing. We'll see you in 2 weeks.